Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Snow and welcome to A Conscious Earth. Yesterday was Are You OK Day, and it's interesting that yesterday was Are You OK Day given that today marks 19 years since 9/11. And so I woke up thinking about that this morning, and I remember 19 years ago my dad coming into my bedroom and saying, "Lisa, I need to tell you that something happened last night. I hadn't seen it unfolding on the news the night before." And he explained to me that two planes had flown into the Twin Towers in New York and that the buildings had collapsed. Now, back then I was probably a little bit naive to really understand what was going on from a world perspective, and the full brunt of 9/11 didn't really hit me until I was on my way to work that morning. And so back in those days I worked just south of Melbourne City, and I worked at a university, and when I drove to work that morning, the roads were really quiet. Everyone was driving with their headlights on out of respect for what had happened. The roads were still busy as normal, but when I say quiet, they were quiet in the sense that it was a solemn drive to work that morning. There was no road rage, there was just nothing untoward going on the road, and I found that really bizarre. And so when I got to work and the conversation of the day started to unfold, it really hit me as to what had happened in the world. And then I started to get really panicked because we have family who live over in New York as well. And so I was really shaken when I started to unravel in my own mind the brunt of what was going on in that moment. And so many people lost their lives that day, and it shook the world. It shook the world in a way that our world has never been shaken before. And so looking at that event unfolding over the last 20 years, it's really shaped where we are today, and I'm going to come back to that shortly. In 2010, my now husband, we went over to New York, and we were able to experience Ground Zero. And at that time, we were taken on a tour by an organisation who were a volunteer organisation and extremely passionate about the history of Ground Zero still unfolding. And so I found myself standing in a neighbouring building as the presentation was going on, and I just had tears running down my face. Like, even now I feel really quite emotional talking about that, because what I was witnessing that day, which was 9 years on, was that there were still people who were pulling down pieces of buildings, like neighbouring buildings, just from the rubble, the shrapnel, the explosion, everything that had happened all those years ago. Pieces of buildings were being pulled down bit by bit by bit by bit, with every single day fragments of bone of people who had deceased still being found. And so And I will be vulnerable in this moment, because it's a vulnerable time in the world. Even in the year 2020, we're going through so much right now, and I'll come to that in a moment. And so I feel so blessed that I've been able to experience going to New York and being in my own mind, being able to piece so much of what happened that day together, even though I wasn't there and I didn't experience what those people were going through in real time, and the reality of losing loved ones. And so it was 3 years ago, back in 2017, that my husband and I had an opportunity to go back to New York again, and this time we had our kids with us. So my daughter had only just turned 1 at that time, my son was 3, and we were walking around the Ground Zero Museum. And can you hear how shaky my voice is? I'm feeling really quite choked up about this morning. And so taking our kids through the museum, whilst they didn't have a full understanding of what was going on, we were back there again. Like, we were back there in exactly the same place that two planes had hit the Twin Towers so many years earlier, and now we were experiencing Ground Zero from a different perspective. And We kept an open dialogue with my son as well. He didn't understand why there was a fire engine that just looked like twisted metal, and why there were photographs of buildings with planes, like a plane that had hit them, and buildings on fire, and we just kept that open dialogue with him. And now as a 6-year-old, he still remembers that conversation and the photos that we took from Ground Zero, and he's able to explain that back to us today. Now, we explain it to him in the way that a child will understand at that age, but it's a part of history, and we don't want to shield our kids from that either, but that's just how my husband and I operate. We like to keep an open dialogue because we want our kids to understand that there were important things that happened in this world that shaped where we are today. And so we're 19 years on now, and oh boy, the emotions are really coming up hard and strong right in this moment. But we're in 2020 right now, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I kind of felt like that in my lifetime I would experience something so profound, but I didn't know what, and now I'm living in the thick of it. I'm one of the ones who is in Melbourne right now. I've been in lockdown for 6 weeks, and we've got another 2 weeks to go. There appears to be a roadmap out of here, a roadmap which I must admit I don't personally believe in, but that's just how I feel about the roadmap. But these events, they're shaping our history, and they're tragic in the times that they're happening. They're tragic, they're chaotic, and it's turning us all upside down in ways that we could have never imagined. Now, in this very moment, right this second, am I okay? Yeah, I'm okay in this moment. Am I going to be okay tomorrow? I don't know. I don't know that. And this was a part of talking about Are You Okay yesterday with Are You Okay Day. I'm having my moments at the moment where I'm not okay. Like, I have to take a step back and really observe what's going on and have a look at history and where we are at now, and realize, and I pull myself back, and I realize, and I go, you know what? Something really good is going to come out of this at some point. I don't know what that is, but in this moment, what I'm doing right now is I'm using this as an opportunity, no matter how sad or how emotional I feel, to use my words, to speak how I'm feeling, to be a part of the shaping of where this world goes from here, wherever that may be. Yeah, my heart is hurting this morning as I talk, and I'm feeling really emotional. But I also believe that something really, really profound is going to come out of all of these big events that have happened in history. So I wanted to acknowledge that we have been through some really tough things over the decades. My grandmother, who is still with us today, she's been through many, many life-shaping events in her existence here on planet Earth, and she lives to tell those stories, which I'm so grateful about. I'm here to tell those stories as well, and to share my experience through living those as well, and I hope that my kids will be able to share their experience one day, which will probably no doubt be through a completely different lens, given that they're children. Anyway, I just wanted to give my love to everybody today, and particularly also yesterday. This is a really tough time in history. It's okay not to be okay right now, and please reach out if you need to talk to anyone. You can reach out to me, whoever it might be. But I hope everyone is taking care of themselves, particularly through this time in history. I'm not going to say any more for today, but know that my love is with you all. And as always, I will be back with you again soon. Bye for now.